Thank you for checking out the Media Marketing Podcast, a place where you can learn all things media and marketing related. Don't miss a beat in boosting your business and your brand. In each episode, you'll gain valuable insights, tools, and strategies to apply to your marketing efforts. And now your host, Brian Cargill.
Okay, so we lost a bit of footage, but we're going to try doing this from the top again, try to make it just as authentic, as natural as it was previously. But thank you so much, media marketing professionals who are tuning in and being flexible with us. So here we go. I'm joined today by Nedra, who is an expert at simplifying digital marketing for busy professionals that want to build trust, increase visibility, and strengthen their online presence. She works with professionals who have a service-based business and currently work with freelancers or need to hire freelancers. She delivers custom digital marketing roadmaps for service-based businesses and offers efficient processes that saves clients the time and hassle that is often associated with launching a new marketing strategy. Possessing 20 years of experience with online marketing and websites, she has a commitment to providing excellent service. And you can connect with her by setting up a 30-minute discovery call to learn about your business goals and for her to learn about them as well. Thank you so much, Nedra, for coming on to the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for having me. I'm doing pretty good considering the situation we're in right now. Yeah.
I know, with the virus going around, and yeah, I'm just glad. Thank you so much for taking time to come onto the show. Here we are doing round 2, and we'll try to get people up to speed. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Well, funny enough, I've actually been working from home since 2003. I've had a few different businesses, and so I've just been really it's been fascinating seeing how people are, trying to figure out work from home, and how, I've been trying to tell people about it for years, and now they get it. And now I'm not in the dark anymore. So that's kind of funny and nice. But I actually started my web design company in 2005, where I basically did everything. I did all the marketing, the accounting, the building the websites, the communication, everything. And around 2007 or 8, I was starting to run into some physical limitations and started, my body was not happy, and I knew that I couldn't continue the way I was going. Like so many business owners, you just hit a burnout point, and you're like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And so luckily, I realized that I had to probably give some things up and make a list of things that I'm good at and what I would really could use help with. And one of the things that became really apparent is that I really enjoyed working with the clients. They liked working with me, but I wasn't that passionate, nor did I have the real focus to continue building the websites and design. And so luckily at the same time, I had a lot of colleagues and friends who were designers, web designers and graphic designers. And I started talking to them and said, hey, how do you feel about, not working with a client, working with someone like me, like as a project manager, as a liaison to getting the work done? And I think every single one of them said yes. A lot of them are introverts, and they would rather just work at home and just be told what the project is and not have to do the schmoozing of the clients and all that. And I'm like, okay, great. And so that was the pivot, and that was around recession time. So that was interesting how that all kind of came about. There was a lot of change going on right then. So I was able to adapt pretty quickly, which was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's great that you had the vision to bring people on board, and you had like the know-how and the intuition that you were burning out, and that, bringing on people that are experts or knowledgeable in those fields, you're really able to, service your clients holistically, not just solving one pain point, but maybe a lot of their marketing pain points.
Right. And, exactly. I was taking on much bigger, better projects than I could have on my own. That is absolutely true. And one thing too is I actually got a project manager mentor. So I actually got some mentorship for that, to kind of that pivot for 6 months, which I'm still in contact with her, and she's been such a great person to be part of my life. And so it's been nice to know that there's different paths to take. So I guess right now, we're in this phase of pivoting. Everyone's doing huge changes right now. And I feel like I've been lucky that I've already seen what that's like and been on the other side of it, and know that there is hope, and you will get through this as long as you're very creative and open-minded. And
Yeah, for folks
so,
out there, yeah, being innovative and pursuing through it. Yeah, because you talked about 2008, enduring that, building resiliency for things like what we're experiencing today. All right. Oops. I guess Nedra is cut out briefly.
yeah. Okay.
Oh,
I'm just going to turn off my video, and then we'll
sweet.
just,
Yeah,
I think
that's
that will
fine.
save us conversation. So, anyway, I can talk about, okay, let me go to the next piece here. So in the last couple of years, I've realized, web design is not the essential, is an essential piece of marketing, but people want more. And I've talked to my clients and helped them with all these different facets of digital marketing, and has realized that there's a much greater need for help around that. And a lot of it's just, people are just so overwhelmed. They just don't even know where to start. That, they're constantly getting these messages on all kinds of different platforms about, you should do this, you should do that, and everyone's just like, well, what should I really do? So in the last few years, I've started helping clients figure out their social media marketing, their email marketing, all kinds of different ways to connect online outside of their website, because the website's kind of like the HubSpot, and all these different other channels feed into it. And that's one of the best ways to look at it, because a lot of times people want their website to work for them, and I'm like, well, you're going to have to use different marketing channels to really get things going. It can't just be the website. That's just not, that's so that's so 2002, you can't think like that anymore. That's not how our world works.
Yeah, and I know in the .com era or boom, could you get by with just a website that was well designed, looked different than everyone else's, and potentially have a whole
Yeah,
company based on that?
I think right back 2002 and into like 2007, you had the blogging era. That was like when people were blogging a lot, and that was driving traffic to their website. And there was these blogging rings, and people commenting on, other bloggers commenting on other bloggers, and this huge, like, RSS feeds through Google, and all kinds of activity happening. And that was the precursor to social media. And that was how people were getting traffic, and people driving to their website and getting, Google ads and all that kind of stuff was starting to emerge then.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next phase was like the social media phase. And that changed a lot of how people even updated their website, because, even now is such a great example. So for example, I wanted to get a pizza at our local pizza place during COVID, and, make sure I get my order in. And so they've been great about, not on their website, but they post on their Instagram and their Facebook, okay, here, text or email us to order a pizza, and you have to start at 4:30, and they give directions. But it's not on the website, because it's so much easier to update daily on social media, and that's what you should be doing if you are, brick and mortar or any kind of service provider right now, and you have critical changes daily.
Yeah, you have a little bit more control over those channels. Yeah, if you want to make an
Exactly.
update on your website, you might have to work through your developer,
Right,
depending on how
right.
big you are. Do you have any tips for people that are managing their own social media right now?
Yeah, I think, it's so good to be resourceful and share resources right now and be helpful. You know, it's like you want to have a certain ratio of like how much you're selling of yourself and how much you're helping people. I think maybe right now it should be like 30-70, like 70% should be, sharing resources, um, sharing information, asking questions, and then 30% could be like, sharing your services. I think that's a pretty good ratio at the moment. It'll change when COVID's over, but right now people need help, and the more helpful you can be, the more they're going to remember you once things return to a calmer time.
Yeah, being generous and
Mm-hmm.
reciprocity. It's kind of
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
good karma, and it just helps out overall, because
Yeah.
depending on whatever it is that you're good at, you're an expert sharing that info. People like myself doing video, sharing how
Yeah.
to be more efficient on Zoom. I love that you've been doing webinars over the
Mm-hmm.
last couple weeks here, just sharing all the things that you're knowledgeable about. So
Yeah, it's been great to help educate people and make them feel more confident. Like, it's nice to see that that's the result, and then people are able to generate more work and get more exposure out there, which is great.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I guess maybe going all the way back into the beginning, just giving our viewers a sense of who you are. Maybe you could talk about how you fell into marketing, and then why you gravitated towards like websites first and not blogging or some of these other platforms.
Yeah, I think it probably stems back to when I was a kid. I spent a lot of time playing video games, computer games, when I was probably around 9 and 10 years old, and thought it'd be really fun to develop those games, or be a strategist around them. And it's funny how in college I was a communication major, and so I ended up taking a lot of classes around uh, media. Even I built a documentary around this year-long trip I did in Germany, and it was all like how the medium kind of like psychologically changes us and convinces us to do things. I thought that was so fascinating, and also a little creepy, but mostly fascinating. and how that's evolved. And I'm old enough that when I took those classes, it was all around radio space, ads, TV ad space, newspapers. And so to be, I felt like I was really lucky to have fallen into an opportunity where I could learn to do websites, because that was the next new medium. And that was just so fascinating to see what you could do with it, and how easy it was to share information on a website. If you know how to build one, it's just like mind-blowing how easy it is to get your message across, whatever, if it's a nonprofit, or you're trying to help someone, or you're trying to sell things. It's just, or even just, have it be, I've built so many different kinds of websites over the years. I even built a memorial site at one point for a family, and it was very special to them. It's just, websites are just incredible pillars of information, depending on how you formulate them.
Oh yeah, I'm big fan. It gives you credibility having that .com, whatever your name .com, and then having something that just is constantly living, that doesn't depreciate, that you just share with customers, and they can learn more about you. Because I think this is kind of a good segue to today, where now you have the educated buyer, where people don't just make purchasing decisions based on what a salesperson told them. They're going to research, learn a little bit more. Maybe if you have videos, they'll watch some of those. They'll read your blogs on your website and compare you to other, service providers or products out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's the buyer's journey. And so you have to be very aware of where they're at on that journey, and really speak to the right positioning, and who they are, and where, and if they're like curious, or they've already purchased before and they want to upgrade, or it's just so good to be aware of that.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. So that's great that you have that in your back pocket of websites, and you've built so many. So I'm sure when you work with new clients, there's nothing that really you haven't seen before when it comes to being able to support them, right?
Right. Yeah. There's definitely patterns I've learned over the years, and different mindsets that business owners have, and how adaptable they might be, or some more resistant than others, and helping them understand the benefits of doing XYZ versus this. It's very psychological. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know that's kind of the cool thing about marketing in general. Yeah. The psychology of, how are you being perceived by the customer, and how can you make things easy? I'm sure what you see with a lot of people, they don't make things as easy as they can be for the customer when navigating through a website, or what do you want, or what are they wanting the customer to do? Because sometimes it's not super apparent when you go to someone's website.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now I see some people, potential clients, that have built a website that's probably like 7 to 5 years old, and it's so old. How it's so amazing how things have changed so quickly, and especially because of mobile. Our little smartphones and iPads and all sorts of things have just changed that tremendously. It's changed how we build websites, and I think it's for the best, because it keeps things simple, and you can't have a lot of too fancy design and things in the way. It just, people don't want that. They want information. They want it fast. They want to make decisions, and they're doing it standing in line, well, they were before. They were they were standing in line close together making decisions at the grocery shopping line, or they were maybe they're in their car before they go pick up their kids. They're making a buying purchase decision. It's really these micro moments where people are making these decisions, and you better capture that, or you're going to lose them instantly, and they're never going to come back.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Yeah, keeping their attention, optimizing for mobile is a big
Mm-hmm.
thing that I think a lot of people don't consider. And then
Yeah.
the people that built their website 5 to 7 years ago and haven't made the update, because 5 years in the technology world is decades in real life, or centuries even. It feels like for how
It
quickly we're
can be.
moving.
Yeah.
So people, I'm curious, the people that built their website 5 to 7 years ago and decide, people like some of the listeners here,
Mm-hmm.
they decide not to update, probably because they think it's, one, good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe it's so much of a hassle to revamp that. What would you
Right.
say to people like that?
Yeah, I think it that's a really good question. I think it depends on their brand and what they're over. Well, basically, I always try to ask, what's your business goal? What are you trying to accomplish? That's always what these, strategy sessions are about. Is and sometimes people aren't even clear on that, which is fine. That's why I help them and get them to that point where they're like, oh yeah, this is what I want to accomplish. Which funny enough is usually never on the website or any other marketing channel. It is in their back pocket, so quietly sitting there, because they want to be seen and heard, and they don't know how to do that, and they want to have someone guide them to be able to do that, and feel like they can be their true selves. And that is what's so amazing about what's happening right now, is people are learning how to be their authentic selves in a way they've never been able to before. And it's so wonderful that people are taking out the masks and being more authentic and personable, and writing email newsletters and doing social media posts, and having websites where they actually have real photos in there of them working with their clients. Or it's even the marketing style of the photos of websites 5 to 7 years ago are so formal and static. They just don't feel real. They just feel like a prop in some old movie.
Yeah, I think the key there is, like, being authentic, being vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and being real. Whereas, I think everything, 10 years ago and older, it was like, how glossed over can it be? How
Mm-hmm. Yep.
photoshopped, airbrushed can we make everything? But that's not real. That the audience can't connect with that. So
Right.
I like that shift. And now we have the tools at our disposal. You have a phone which can take photos and take
Yep.
video, and you can create a lot of these assets for your company,
Yeah.
yourself, and people are actually seeking that out.
Exactly.
But not to make what we do irrelevant, because
Right.
you talked about, there's a lot of info out there and it can be really overwhelming. Where do you
Yeah.
begin? And that's where bringing someone like yourself as a guide
Mm-hmm.
along that process, and filtering all that information, and your knowledge and expertise of 20 years. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, for someone to get all of that, it would just take forever. So bringing in, they're not
Mm-hmm.
able to shortcut, but you're able to steer them in the right direction and help them along the way.
Right. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite part about helping business owners, or helping people get started on this path of remarketing themselves?
Yeah. It's basically kind of what I was talking about before. Like, so many times I'll do these strategy sessions, and I guarantee you I'll get this amazing story that the client will tell me, and I'm like, why are you not sharing this anywhere? And it's because it's so vulnerable. It's because it's something that is near and dear to them. It's a part of the business they really want to pursue, or something they want to change, or they're not sharing. There's just something they're just not sharing with everyone. And I'm able to help them bring that to light, and feel able to provide them a safe space to talk about this. I feel like I'm a very approachable person. I'm very trustworthy, and I create this special space for them to express themselves, and then I help guide them to figure out how they can execute on that. And I think that is absolutely the most magical part of the strategy sessions we do, and they happen every single time. There's never been a time where that's never happened. It's, I guarantee, because people always have an amazing story, and I feel like that's what that's probably gets me up in the morning, is people's stories, and we're starting to finally in our world hear these stories that people have been buried for hundreds and thousands of years, it feels like. And I feel like I'm lucky enough to be alive in this moment in time where we actually can do that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And, in my background of journalism and doing interviews, that's a lot of my favorite style when I'm working with a new client, is just do the sit down interview and ask them these questions. And usually by 40 minutes in, an hour in, you really do get these
Mm-hmm.
like kind of vulnerable answers. Whereas I think you spend a lot of time there filtering, and people are afraid to talk about what were the early challenges with your business. Did you have a time when you had to, almost get filed for bankruptcy? What were
Right.
some of the challenges that you overcome? A lot of times I've worked with business owners and they're like, oh, no one cares about that. It's like, no, that's what people really want to hear is like, but how did
Yeah,
you get to where you are today? And, being real, being authentic with people.
exactly. And I think that it's so refreshing that people can be that way. And it's almost like, when I work with them, I give them permission. And that's why people want to work with you. It's, I think Simon Sinek is like, he's, people keep referencing him because it's not how you do business. It's why you do it. It's how people want you. They don't want, it's why they're choosing you over this other competitor, is because of how you do it and how you think and how you react. It's especially, that's why I work with so many service-based professionals, because that's how they're chosen. It's not because of they have the best, gadget out there. It's because of how they execute and how they care for their clients. And I think that's what's so important. And that's the magic behind a lot of my clients, is because of how much they care and their own personal story and how that's woven into their business. I mean, I have so many examples of that. It's pretty wacky. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you brought up a good point with Simon Sinek with getting to why versus I think a
Yep.
lot of people focus on the how we do it and what we do, but the
Yeah.
why, the passion behind it, and I think is really crucial. And a big thank you to our sponsors over at songtub.com. That's right, song or music and a tub, like a bath, but more fun to say. Tub. Anyway, you can check out Songtub's website for any of your music needs. In fact, the song playing in the background right now is from Songtub. So why pick them over anyone else? Well, they curate the music. And I know the guys, so that means I know that they're selecting great music for your project. A lot of other companies will brag about how many songs they have, maybe 100,000, 200,000, maybe even 1 million. But honestly, I don't have time for that. I don't have the time to just sit down and go next, a song not so great, trying to figure out where the best music is. Songtub.com, great place to get your music. And now I'm excited to offer you the first month for free if you go to songtub.com/pro, P-R-O, and we have a promo code for you. Yes, that's right, my name, your host, Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, and that will give you your first month free to have access to a huge music library that you can use towards your next video project, podcast, or any of your general audio needs. Anyway, back to the show. Yeah, kind of encapsulating all of that. He uses Apple as like his big example. And
Exactly. Yeah.
And Apple at the end of the day, you could make your own computer cheaper, might even be faster, more powerful, but Apple thinks about you and they simplify it, and their why is to be innovative. And then talks about Microsoft, who's like their why is just to, not to hate on these big brands, but this is what, this is me surmising what he said, but Microsoft is just like to beat Apple is their mission, or the dumbed down version of it.
Exactly.
That's not their true mission, but I think when he was doing his talk, and so I think that's huge, that having a why that's about innovation and being cutting edge. And what have been some of the whys that you've seen with your business, with the businesses that you've worked with?
Oh yeah, I think one of them that popped up, I probably taught to you in the class I gave, is I have an acupuncturist who I've worked with on built a website for, and her why and why she became an acupuncturist is because she, and this is her full blown story on the website, which I think is so great, is because she had anxiety for a long time when she was younger, and she actually got acupuncture to treat it, and couldn't believe how much better she felt, and was just amazed how that really helped her. And she kind of put two and two together, like, what if I could help other people with this? And became, that became one of her specialties, is helping people with anxiety through acupuncture. And what a great way that her patients can relate with her, that she's already gone through some things, I think. And that's actually a really good pattern I see in a lot of my clients, is people have gone through things so they can relate. That's how they can, I have a lot of lawyers that have gone through some pretty intense stuff, and that's how they can relate with their clients. Otherwise, it's that connection is so important, especially when you're, the more intense the service is, and the more involved it is, it's so important to have that trust and understanding. Otherwise, it's like hiring a doula to help you deliver a baby when they've never had a baby. Like that's a hard sell, So,
Yeah.
this to have someone in your life that's never gone through any of what you're experiencing is so disenchanting.
Yeah, you can respect a guide who has already been there, done that, and they're just kind of
Yeah,
coaching you through that experience. Yeah, it'd be like having a baseball coach who never played baseball. It happens,
exactly. Yeah,
but usually it's like, well, do they really know what I'm experiencing here? Like the challenges, and so I think that's
right.
great. That's an awesome story about the acupuncturist who,
Mm-hmm.
overcame their own challenge and wants to give that back to the world. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's great what you're doing. I guess shifting gears here
Mm-hmm.
into becoming a project manager of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a that's not an inherent skill, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs are usually working solo. So,
Mm-hmm.
good for you for being able to kind of work with others and get them on board and create a vision and execute for your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in your bio, it says you're gathering a database of freelancers. So, I guess I kind of wrote in my notes here, you're able to kind of provide a greater depth of services for your
Right.
clients.
Yeah.
How many freelancers will you bring in on a project, or is it just case by case?
It's so case by case. There's been some projects where I bring in a web designer, a copywriter, and a graphic designer. That's a pretty common trifecta. But sometimes, people want PR folks. They want social media experts, like a social media specialist or a SEO specialist, or, just it really depends on the needs. And that's why it's so good to do that assessment with them in the beginning and see, and really talk them through what they're trying to accomplish so that we can find the right people. And, I know so many different folks that do these things that, I can be like, well, this person specializes in, the legal field or the medical field. So you want to work with this person versus like this other specialist, and knowing what their outcomes are with their other clients. It's so valuable. So I can be very helpful in connecting the dots because not all freelancers are the same. And it's so important that they add the right amount of value to the end to make the end product amazing.
Yeah. And I think you're onto something with like not all freelancers are the same. I think some people are like, well, a
Yeah.
photographer is a photographer, a graphic designer is a graphic designer. Are like, no, yeah, the ones that are industry specific towards your industry, you're going to get a much better result. Or have worked with your
Yeah.
clientele. I've had the experience of going and trying to find a freelancer that does something specific.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on these, the outsourced sites, Fiverr and Upwork, but you're going to have to vet
Mm-hmm.
so many people and build trust from scratch. Whereas if someone
Yeah.
like yourself, they already have trust in you, then everyone in your network, they're like, okay, well, they've been vetted and pre-approved by Nedra. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah, bringing in lots of different people when the time is right. Maybe you can talk about what are some of like the common pitfalls that people have, or when you work with
Mm-hmm.
clients, do they have zero strategy, or if they do have a strategy, is it kind of sending them in a direction that doesn't align with those business goals?
Yeah, that's a good question. It seems like the best way I can help business owners is usually if they've been in business 1 to 2 years, so they've established, they've had website, 1.0, a beta website. They've established some kind of brand, and they've done some kind of marketing, and because it's just so good for them to, for people to bootstrap and try it on their own first and see what they can accomplish, and then they can grow from there. And then, because a lot of times what happens is after we do a strategy session is I will make an assessment and do the roadmap. And then a lot of times I'm like, you need to hire people to help you. And usually that's some kind of virtual assistant or some specialist, a web designer, somebody that can really execute on what they want done, because, these folks are already maxed out. They're trying to, they want to grow, but growth means that you need to delegate, and that's something that's, oh, it's so hard for us business owners. It took me a long time to get to that point. And I know I see some that are struggling, and that's just a really uncomfortable position, but that's how things happen. And that's the synergy of ideas, and new fresh ideas can happen that way. And then it frees you up to do the work with your clients that you love, and you don't have to be doing these other tasks that you don't enjoy or just not very comfortable doing, and what somebody else can do an amazing job at.
Yeah. And I think that's great because you can speak directly to that because that was your own experience trying to do everything, and it's overwhelming and it's burnout and you can't do everything great. So refining down to things that you're good at and tripling down on those is a way to really be successful.
Exactly.
I wonder, so I guess the main reason why people do everything is probably one, to save costs, but man, if you're learning every single platform, all the softwares out there, yeah, you're spreading yourself a little bit thin. So I guess to all the listeners out there that are listening to this, I feel like you're, having to be a specialist in building your website, email marketing, all of that, reach out to Nedra and you'll steer them in the right direction of who is a professional, or they can work with you and kind of have access to your network of folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so maybe I guess the sweet spot of people to work with you are they've been DIY bootstrapping it, which is a lot of this audience. So I guess 0 to 1, or starting from like, what's the foundation? Is website the first thing you look at? Brand? What are some of the first things you look at for companies?
That's a great question. And I think I was just actually helping a friend get through this the other day. What should she do first? And I'm like, well, first off, I think is to establish some kind of brand identity and get that domain bought. Like that's an easy, affordable way. If it doesn't work out, you're not out hundreds of dollars, you're out like $15 a year. So, figuring out the name or some kind of identity you can nab that domain on and have a place for that. And then the next step is not necessarily a website. I think once you have that name and identity figured out, start grabbing the social media placeholders, like get the Twitter handle for that, get the Instagram handle, and Facebook, all the major ones. Doesn't mean you're gonna use it. That's not the point. It's just that somebody else won't grab it from underneath you when you're more established and trying to figure out what just happened. It's just more like these touch points. And then I think then just establishing, hiring a graphic designer or, figuring out a way to get some kind of logo identity. Because, here's an example. I had someone in my neighborhood who was making these great, like, eco-friendly soaps and lotions and stuff. And I wanted to purchase from her, but she had no business card. And so it was really hard for me to even take her seriously. So I want to see if I want to see someone to have a business card as one of the first things they have when they're, starting a business. I think that even in the digital virtual world we live in, it still means a lot. So I think that would be a very encouraging thing to do. And it just builds trust. It means that you're serious about this and that you're putting a stake in the ground and you're like, I'm going to do this and I will execute on these other things later. But this is how I'm showing that I'm here to support and serve.
Yeah,
so
I
think
agree.
Those things are really important. Don't websites later.
Yeah, I'm with you because you're making the investment that you are serious about your business venture. You're here to help clients, and you're thinking about what can you do to make it easier for them. Your friend who didn't have a business card wasn't making that easy for you. You had to wrote it down on a piece of paper, email her, and just in today's day and age with all these technology resources, you're kind of you're behind the curve there. And sometimes people, I hate that people do this, but they are kind of like judging every aspect of your business. So what does your card look like? That's a reflection on you. What does your website look like? Reflection on you.
Right.
Sadly, but that's just kind of, people don't have time. They have limited attention spans. So there's like, does that look good? Yes, no. Can I trust them? Or they move on to the next thing, right?
Absolutely. And it's so affordable to get these things done now. Like, you can get business cards through Vistaprint. I mean, they've been around forever, and that's a very nominal fee to get those printed and just get some just the bare minimum. And then you can always, upgrade and change later. I think that people forget that that's definitely what you're going to do. And that's a good thing. That's just evolution of a business.
Yeah. I like that you said, the kind of the 1.0, you go to the 2.0.
Yeah.
Whereas perfection can probably be the holdback for a lot of people. They want to have everything dialed in, but getting yourself to one spot, and you can always change it. You can change your name later if you want to. I've done that. It's, $100 with the state. You can change your logo. You can change your colors, or you can change the identity at any time. as you get bigger,
Right.
it takes, it's a little bit more of a process, but
Right.
that's why it's good for people to work with you early on in that first year or two, or after that first year,
Mm-hmm.
to even know what the blind spots are. Because you can only read so many articles and become so knowledgeable on your own. So having a professional that knows all these avenues and knows what's going to be the path of least resistance are going to have their greatest return on that investment.
Yeah, I've definitely helped people with rebrands because I've gone through so many myself. I do know the right and the wrong way to do it. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the similar camp. I've made multiple podcasts and like kind of smaller business ventures, and it's a process. But
Mm-hmm.
one that's done well, it can have a huge reflection on your brand and what kind of customers you attract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point, I guess we mentioned, at what point would someone bring you in about the 1 year, 2 year mark?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they would do the consultation. You start working on some of these things, and then do you help people kind of on an ongoing basis, like kind of monthly, you can check-ins or quarterly check-ins?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, once we do a strategy session, I usually put together a pretty comprehensive roadmap with the notes and then recommendations what to do over the next 3 months. And then from there, we decide what's going to be best for them. And a lot of times it is just like helping them hire someone or figuring out where their weak points are and what they need to do. And then, yeah, I offer different kind of packages. I offer like a 4-hour package so we can meet like once a month or every 2 weeks, or depending on what the needs are. Or I have a VIP package too, which I can work with someone for a big like half a day and knock out some of these things together, if it's just content or even figuring out what to do with their website, breaking those into smaller bite-sized chunks for them. And then there's different ways to work together for sure.
That's awesome. Are there any big tools out there right now that you've seen that could be helpful for small business owners? I know it's a pretty
Yeah.
big question. There's so many tools nowadays. I mean, there's something
Well,
happening on the App Store daily.
I know, but I think the biggest one that I'm still surprised that people aren't doing is just automating their social media. Like that's still like surprises me. And there's so many tools to do that. I use Hootsuite, but there's Buffer, there's I think Later's meant for Instagram. There's so many out there. I think you just got to pick one and play with it. But I think there's, again, what you just said earlier, there's that perfectionist part that people are so worried about being perfect online that that holds them back and they don't do anything. And then it's like, oh, it's deflating. So I think the key is just do something now and try experiment, because it's an open playing field and you have nothing to lose right now because everything's out of whack. Nothing's normal.
Everything's out of whack. It's cheap to post. It's organic,
Yeah, exactly.
traffic. Whereas I wonder if the perfection model comes from, back in the day, you made a billboard or you made a commercial, and yeah, it had to be perfect, had to be airtight, because you weren't going to be producing anything, or the audience, your customers wouldn't interact with you probably for until you created the next one, which wouldn't come out for like the next quarter, or X amount of months later. Whereas today, yeah, you can, whatever you posted 3 days ago is irrelevant to what you're posting today, right?
Yeah, especially on like Instagram stories and things that are like so short and sweet, like like hours later they don't matter. Yeah, I wonder if it's like a generational mindset. I kind of wonder that sometimes, because I feel like a lot of the 20 and 30-year-olds I see posting out there don't worry about that as much. They just do it. They just don't even think about it.
Yeah, they're not as
whereas
bothered
my
by
generation definitely is hesitant and more nervous. And I think I think it might be that.
Which is a hindrance, because we have people that are 23-year-olds claiming to be experts, and the people that are experts are older but don't have the confidence, or they're afraid to, I don't know if it's like look silly, but not look as competent as they actually are. But so it's great about that edit function on there.
Exactly.
So you recommended to people grab the handles, work with a professional to get everything situated, and even grabbing those handles. Do you have any stories about people having to try to buy a handle from someone that's already grabbed it because they saw that they were growing as a business?
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm waiting for that to happen, because I mean the wars around domain names are insane. I've heard a lot of crazy stories, and people told me crazy prices they've paid for domain names. I'm like, okay, good to know. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before that becomes another like piece of collateral that people are gonna have bidding wars over, I'm sure.
That might even be something in the future, like parents buy their domain name for their kid because they know
Yeah,
they're going to need it one day and they don't want anyone else to have it.
that's definitely what tech parents are thinking of. I think we've already done that for our daughter. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
pretty cool. Yeah, she's going to thank you
Hmm.
guys big time. Not anytime in the
Yeah.
near future, but
No.
as she gets older.
Maybe, yeah, or just be like, thanks for not messing with it. Who knows what they'll
Yeah.
think? Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, is there anything we haven't really kind of like talked about that I mean the depth of your services is so broad. We could take it in any direction.
Hmm.
But I think the number one thing is you're able to be a knowledgeable guide for people, and uncover blind spots that they might not even notice and know
Yeah.
how, because whether you're creating a product or a service, maybe you're so focused on creating a high quality product, which you should, but thinking about marketing and some of these other things becomes, I know it's not as intuitive for us as it might be for other people.
Right. And I think that's what happens so much. And I'm guilty of it too. Like you lose sight of how it is, how people perceive you, and that's why I was reminded of this earlier in one of my groups, that the best way to try things out is to, know those, maybe a handful of your favorite, your fans, your favorite clients that will all, they know you well, they believe in what you're doing. If you really are trying to figure out what's the next marketing technique, you try it out on them, see how they react. If they say, oh God, this is horrible, then maybe that's a sign you shouldn't do it. But if they react well and say, oh yeah, this is great, that could be another good litmus test to see if you should run forward with something, and to help build your confidence in that something that somebody wants, or even better yet, ask them what they want. Like, don't try to guess, like just ask them what's something that you've been wanting a service or help with that is missing that I could do for you. I mean, that could be a great conversation piece.
I think that's great. Yeah, kind of surveying your clients, your customers,
Mm-hmm.
and getting that direct feedback. And maybe even family members. I run stuff by my
Mm-hmm.
fiance every once in a while, just what are her thoughts,
Yeah.
even though she's not the target audience, but kind of getting the pool of opinions, and then then testing it and actually seeing how do things work, and circling back on the analytics.
Yeah, exactly. Always check your work and see what the results were.
A cactus knows how to survive. It can endure scorching heat, limited rainfall, and defends itself against critters daily. Your business is no different. To survive harsh conditions, it's important to develop deep roots using media content that'll continuously nourish and support your marketing efforts day after day. Tactus Media is here to help you determine a strategy and create media content. Together, let's map out the next sequence of videos, podcasts, and social media to help your business thrive. Work with Tactus Media. Media tactics that stick. Ouch! Visit tactusmedia.com to learn more.
Are there any trends that you're seeing right now out there?
It's really wacky right now because of COVID. I was seeing some trends around, and I don't know how this is going to take off, but one of the ones I'm curious about this year is advertising on tools like Alexa and the voice, we call it the voice activated, there's a name for them, what I mean? But anyway, for example, Alexa, like, positioning yourself on there so people can request your service or product that way. I feel like that's a domain that hasn't really been explored yet. It's all brand new, but it could be pretty exciting if it's done right. It could be done really wrong. So there's questions around that, but I feel like voice activation is the next like pioneer in technology that could be really amazing and help us as humans. It's just a matter of how it's done. It could be done a number of ways. Hopefully it's done right.
Yeah, and that one's such a new technology. I'm curious if everyone will have some kind of audio commercial for their company at some point, if the space is pretty affordable to put it into.
Yeah.
I don't know, nowadays you could reach out to a podcast like this one and sponsor it if you wanted to.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and what's really great is in the podcast space we have so many different podcasts that are themed or they have a genre that are very specific. And so, your audience is already there. It's just a matter of teaming up with that podcast provider. Have you played around with the audio space at all? I know some companies, having a jingle that's iconic to you. I think we all know like the Nokia and the T-Mobile little jingles that they have.
Right.
Or McDonald's, ba da ba ba ba, all those things really, leave an impression on the customer.
Yeah. No, I haven't thought about that in that regard. That's really interesting. Again, going back to the psychology of marketing, that's so fascinating how, and but it's really, we live in a really interesting, there's a lot of change going on, because like I was raised with commercials on TV. I think there was like 4 channels I was raised on as a kid, and my daughter's generation, they're watching Netflix. There's no commercials, and so the commercials are very abstract and different, and they're coming across in different ways, and they're coming on through YouTube, and so the playing ground is just totally different. And I'm really curious what is penetrating the young generation that's going to grow up and lead our world in 20 years, and how they are going to what's going to be the jingle version for them. I'm just really not sure yet.
I know, so many different channels out there. I mean, when I was growing up, you had to wait for your favorite show to come on to, every week, every Wednesday, it was going to show up on TV. Now Netflix releases it all at once. So now the binge generation, and whatever your platform is, there's so many different channels. So standing out among the noise is going to be one of the biggest challenges. Which I think high quality content has always been able to cut through all of that.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I would like to see is a more curated content, and that's what I'm always looking for, is websites that can provide that for me and that share the same values as me, so I know I can go find really good programming for my daughter, or even programming for me around tech news or whatnot. And I think that's where a lot of resources could be going to help the greater good of people. And there could be a lot of money being made. It could be very monetized too. So definitely.
Yeah. Any number of those platforms. And then yes, whoever's just doing a good job of giving a holistic approach to that info, I think is going to be, because there's so many different ways that people process information now, the educational style. So whether you're an audio person, whether you're visual or if you're a reader, those are all the different ways of reaching out to your audience. Well, Nedra, this has been pretty awesome recording so far, aside from that mishap at the beginning, but I think we were able to cover most everything that we were chatting about.
Yeah, this has been great.
Any closing thoughts before we start to wrap things up here?
I think, if you're listening to this right now and we're still in stay-at-home mode, and you're sitting at home working on your business, I think it's just the best. I've been talking to so many different business leaders and coaches about this, is just to experiment, try things out. Now's the time to be playful and creative, and don't let that perfectionism eat you alive. Just try a few new things and see what happens, because that's where opportunity lies, is in all of that. So I think that I just want to encourage people to do that as much as possible.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. Don't be afraid to shift gears, to hone in on your marketing and see what sticks. And then, after you do it, check the analytics, see what actually did work, and adjust from there. Yeah. Because some companies are going to come out of this doing better than how they were before, and probably tripling down on their marketing as part of that.
Like Zoom, the one, we're on that now. I can't even imagine if any of us had bought stock in Zoom in January, how we'd be doing now. Like that. It's a great example of a company that's going to just thrive in this environment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They've been everything virtual, digital. They've been doing well. So yeah, I know and I think this is forcing a lot of people to have physical products or services to consider what can you do virtually, digitally, to still, provide a value service to your clients and your customers.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right, Nedra. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it. And I urge all the listeners to go check out your website. I don't think we had mentioned it at the beginning of this one, but your website is www.nedra, Nedra, Rezinas, Rezinas.com. And do you want people to follow you on any of the other social channels?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That's where I'm hanging out these days. So that would probably be the best place to interact. I'll definitely respond quickly.
That's awesome. Yeah, connect with you on LinkedIn, and then that's awesome that you're providing webinars for people, so they can definitely check those out.
Yeah.
And get it's free info. So that's very nice of you to offer that for folks. So, all right. Well, thank you, Nedra, and hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
I want to say a big thanks for tuning into the Media Marketing Podcast. Please subscribe to get notifications for new episodes, which are coming out every Thursday morning, or at least we're striving for that. Feel free to visit our Facebook page where you can like and join the media marketing community. This is a good resource for collaborating, sharing ideas with other media creators, marketers, and those just looking to build their network. So until next time.